Hello, this is Lynette again. Today, I am going to talk to you guys about informative speech writing, and I'm going to do for y'all the speech that I did when I was in Miss Murphy's class. Now, before I go any further, I know you're probably wondering, why is she back? Well, whenever we have classes on campus, I generally would go to Miss Murphy's class 2 times in the semester. And for each visit, I would do the example speeches or the speeches that I did when I was a student for 2 different classes each visit. So we're going to do another couple of videos also after this. And so it's going to look like I'm here a lot, but that's just a figment of your imagination. Okay. So on to informative speech writing. So your informative speech needs to be 3 to 5 minutes. It's worth 100 points. And you need to choose a topic that is of historical significance. I put some examples here on the screen for you. Here we go. You can do your speech on some kind of historically significant object. I listed some obelisks, those are old, med beds, those are new, elongated skulls, that's just interesting, I think. Places, you could do like the significance of a particular place, or the example that I wrote on there, what's the connection between the City of London Corp, Washington, D.C. Corp, and Vatican City Corp? Why are they connected? What's up with that? You could do processes like a manufacturing process, process of law, the digestion process. You could talk about a person. Just if you talk about a person, make sure that you don't pay tribute to them, because this is an informative speech. It's not a tribute speech. So you can't talk about how wonderful they are or how horrible they are. You just give straight up information. This is what's up with this person. This is what they did that is of historical significance. You can talk about concepts. What are concepts? Concepts are mostly like ideas that we tend to work around, like liberty, justice, natural law. You can talk about, move my screen. You can talk about legal stuff. I put in some really interesting current legal ideas. The Act of 1871, what are the consequences of that law today? I just think that's interesting. You don't have to choose these particular topics. I'm just giving you lots of ideas. If you look on the assignments page, there's a PDF with all of this just for you, so that we don't have to actually talk through the entire list. But just make sure whatever topic you choose, that it is of historical significance. And of course, if you're not sure, contact Miss Murphree. She's really easy to talk to. This is a research speech. You have to research. You have to do a works cited page so that you can list your sources. You're going to have to cite your sources verbally in your speech delivery. And what else? I was going to say outline, but the works cited page is attached to the back of the outline, which your outline is, of course, on the form that's on the assignments page for you. So first thing you're going to do, once you have selected your topic, you're going to start collecting data. You want to make sure to use reliable, credible sources. I cannot state that more strongly. They have to be credible sources, such as research publications, documentaries, academic publications. And You see this line here on the screen in blue. These are little things that you can put in your search, like inurl:/.edu. That'll bring you to academic sources, or inurl:/.gov. That'll take you to official government websites, that kind of thing. Make sure that your sources are credible, because the credibility of your sources will give you credibility. Here in school, we are not yet credible. We are not world-renowned experts yet. And so we have no credibility. So we have to make sure our sources are credible. Now here I have listed, and as I said, this is on the assignments page for you. This list is of safe search engines. You don't want to use Google. You don't want to use Google Chrome or Bing. Those for sure, I know, track you. They track your usage. They track your movements and such as that. Now, I love Google, because you can find just about anything, except the things that, usually the things that you really want to find are like so many pages back that you have to spend lots and lots of time. These particular search engines that I've listed here for you, I did some research to find really good search engines. These do not track your usage. The one that I use most is DuckDuckGo, and since doing this bit of research, listening to other people, I hear a lot of other people use that one too. It's super easy. But all of these other ones are other search engines. You can, give them a shot, see which one you like the most. And of course, you never want to cite your search engine whenever you cite your sources. It's like you would never cite that you got your information, excuse me, from Google. That's not a source. It's just the engine that you use to find your source. So I know that particular question was on, I think it was the modules test. Yeah, that was the gimme. You're welcome. Now, you want to make sure that you use credible sources and not the not credible sources. So here, the following sources have proven time and time again to not be credible, because they publish and or repeat subjective, biased, narrative-driven sources. And as far as these mainstream media outlets that I've listed here, these guys have been busted time and time again for sometimes just straight up lying. Sad but true. So make sure that you do not use Wikipedia. Snopes is not a credible source. They're kind of like the fact checkers for Facebook. Anytime Facebook fact checks something, you know that that's probably true, because I don't know what source they use. Anyway, and the mainstream media outlets that I've listed here, they're just not credible sources. Okay, so don't even go there. Now, when you do your speech, or citing the sources for your speech, you want to say where you got your sources. So according to Doctors Lassican and Lawrence in the Primary Healthcare Journal, they said such and such. That's one way to cite a source in your verbal delivery. And then of course you would put that in the works cited page, which is on the back of your outline. Citing the source gives you credibility, and it proves that you're not just blowing hot air. So if I were to say that the law allows the IRS to seize bank accounts based on suspicion without any crime being required, would you believe me? Do you have a reason to believe me? No, you don't. And so I have to cite a credible source. This, the New York Times, uh, to my knowledge, has not created any stories out of thin air. But they are deemed to be a credible source. And so here is the source, New York Times. There is the article. Now I showed this to show these are some of the bits of information that you're going to use on your works cited page. Here we have the title of the source, the New York Times. We have the author's name. We have the date of publication, the title of the article, of course. And one of the ways that we know for sure that this is a good story, that this is credible, is that this author even cites the Internal Revenue Service, and she links it in her web article. She puts a link where you can go to the page on the Internal Revenue Service site that tells you, yes, the law can seize your accounts with just the suspicion without a crime being required. So make sure that your sources are really, really good. Okay, informative speech writing. You must have the outline and you must have the works cited page. We've talked about that already. The works cited page, on the assignments page, we put a link. It's on the assignments page. It's on the library resources page. The library research resources assignments page, there's a link for you to go to, and it will show you how to create your works cited page in Microsoft Word. And you kind of have to use Microsoft Word because Miss Murphy's computer won't open up a lot of the things that some students will send things in, like Google Docs and other different kinds of formats. And for some reason, Miss Murphy's computer won't open those. So use Microsoft Works, or type your outline and so forth directly into the text box where you submit. On the bottom of the assignments page, there's that text box, the tab. You can type it straight into there if you like. That would be awesome. So, research. You have an idea of what you want to talk about. You have an idea of which way you want to go. One of the purposes of research is for you to focus this very broad idea down to a fine point. You only have 3 to 5 minutes. That's not long. And there's lots and lots to say about any topic you choose, even if you choose something that I didn't put on my list. Every topic is really big, and you'll realize that as you start looking for information. So you want to collect lots and lots of information, even things that you might not use, but I don't know, it might connect to something or it seems kind of interesting. Collect everything and figure out exactly what is the one point that I want to make ultimately. The more information that you collect, the more you will learn about your topic of interest. The more you know, the more confident you will be whenever it comes time to deliver your speech. And this is really, really important whenever you're in front of a big crowd, for you to feel confident. Because sometimes nerves can take over. The more confident you are, the less nerves, the less butterflies. It's like, at least I know what I'm talking about as far as this goes, as far as this one point goes. And that's why I like to say, you become the expert. Nobody else knows what you're going to say until you say it. Nobody else knows what you're going to talk about. And so if you misspeak, nobody's going to know. The more confident you are, the better your delivery will be, the smoother your speaking will be, and the less your knees will shake. And that is important. Organizing and writing your speech. By the time you've done all your research, you need to know what is the one specific purpose, what's your objective, what's your central theme, what do you want your audience to come away with, and write it all out, and then do it in front of the clock. Do your whole speech in front of the clock and time it. If it's too long, you want to weed out the boring details. Of course, we don't have time for boring details, do we? We only have interesting details. Weed out the excessive words. There's a lot of words that we use just when we're talking that we don't really need. I mean, whenever, especially when you're talking about writing, we can restructure our sentences and boil it down to just the necessary words without losing effect, because we want to have an effect on people. We want our speeches to affect our audiences. So you can weed out extra words. It helps with time. And if it's too short, if you don't have enough, you can always go back to all those details that you didn't use. Find some good ones. Don't use the boring details. Find some really good, juicy details and work them in to your speech. A lot of the timing with speech has to do with the details that you use, how you organize them, and how many words you put around them. Okay, so in writing your speech, refer back to your ebook. There's an ebook, an e-textbook in the syllabus. When I took Miss Murphrey's class, that semester was my last semester, and they asked me, I had 3 different instructors come and ask me to speak for graduation. Holy cow. Okay, well, I guess, okay, I can do that. So we had textbooks that we had to buy and carry with us to class back in my day. And I never looked at it. I brought it with me to class every day because you never knew when Miss Murphree was going to spring a pop quiz on us. But I never looked at it until it was time for me to write a speech for graduation. And lo and behold, they have chapters for every one of the speeches that we had to write, for informative and demonstration and persuasive and tribute. Oh my gosh, I could have used it the entire semester. Oh wow. So don't do what I did. Go ahead and refer back to your textbook. It's free to use. And they're going to give you some really good ideas. They're going to give you some good tips and points for writing. Those are invaluable. Eliminate needless words. Words don't bleed. Cut them. You don't want to be boring, okay? And you want to make sure that you're not bored. Pick something that you enjoy, because if you enjoy it, your audience will also enjoy it, because your enthusiasm will it'll come out. Make sure your writing is not boring. Okay, you don't want to be the boring speaker. Communicate clearly and accurately. Use formal language, okay? Formal, not normal. And I say that because whenever we're just talking, we're just rambling on, we're just chit-chatting, we say things in ways that aren't necessarily grammatically correct. And sometimes we use words that are not allowed on the evening news, if you know what I mean. So whenever we write our speeches, we want to make sure that we write in a formal way, Formal words, no vulgarities, no slang words. Don't beat around the bush. Just say what you got to say. Just stick it. Just get in, get out. And remember, people tend to focus on the beginning and the end of a speech. In the middle stuff, it's normal. We kind of zone out sometimes. So make sure that you have your really, really good stuff at the beginning and at the end. And really, this speech is too short to have boring stuff. So I know you're going to do great. And make your information meaningful. Okay? Use emphatic words. Use really strong words. Don't be vague. So, dog. If I were to say, okay, I want you to think of a dog. Is the dog that you're thinking of the same dog that I'm thinking of? Probably not, because I haven't told you what kind of dog to think of. But if I were to describe a dog to you, if I were to say that it was a Chihuahua, okay, well, we can picture that, can't we? Or if I were to say it's a Schnauzer, those are cool. You can picture that. But if I just say dog, that's really vague. Well, that's the kind of thing that we want to do in our speech writing. We want to be very specific because as people, we like to see. We want visual imagery. We like to see what you're talking about. Emphatic words, concrete words, very strong verbs help us to see imagery, see what you're talking about, and it helps you to carry us along with your speech. You want to also sometimes, not too often, intensify your verbiage with strong adjectives and adverbs. It helps to create verbal imagery. And if you're short on time, or if your speech is a little bit too short and you need just a few extra seconds, sometimes extra imagery words help us to stall for time. And if your speech is too long, well, then you can go in and those are the kind of things that you can take out. So, writing your speech, make sure, please, don't use the words it and they unless it's directly next to the thing that you're already talking about. Because, they do this and they say that. Well, who are they? So make sure that you have just already said who it is or what it is that you're talking about before you use the words it and they, and try not to use those words very often. And do your best not to use the word very. We tend to use that word a lot. And there are so many more strong words that we could use. This is one list that I found on Google Images. Look at very powerful. That's 2 words. We could just say compelling. Very poor. We could just say destitute. Very pretty. We could say gorgeous. See, these words, they have more flavor. They have more attitude. So that's just a thing. Try not to use the word very, very often. Completing your script. Now, last time when I was talking about demonstration, I talked about the importance of having a script. You want to make sure you actually have a script and that you're working with your script. So when you complete it, remember the small details can make or break your time. Knowing what information to use is as important as knowing what not to use. Take out the boring stuff. You want to use the things that are going to pique your audience's interest. If, when you're done, your audience goes, you've done it. That's All you need to do with this speech is just to kind of pique your audience's interest. Tell them something they didn't know about, maybe about a topic they had never thought about. It's not that hard, I promise. And boil it down, shorten it. Don't ramble. Okay, that's why we want to have a script so that we can keep it concise. And if you need to fill time, remember, add another detail or two. For your delivery, you want to set up your notes in such a way that you can see them. And I don't mean just see, I mean in a way that works for you. Some people do really well putting, just jotting notes on note cards. If you can, cool. Make sure that you number your note cards just in case, God help us, they accidentally fly and you have to go pick them up and put them back in order. It just makes it a lot easier. So number your note cards or your sheets of paper. Some people use block text. At my graduation, there was this guy from BRAC who had 8, I guess, typed pages of block text. I don't know how he did it. I'm fixing to show you what it looked like. Mine was just an absolute mess. You do what works for you. So the guy at graduation had something that looked like this, and he had like 8 or so pages of it, and he never lost his place. I was amazed. I truly was. This is my speech in block text, my graduation speech. And I'm dyslexic. That's my superpower. But every superpower has its kryptonite, and so my kryptonite is block text. I can't read block text and keep eye contact with my audience and pick out keywords and keep my place. It's just tough for me. This is the speech that I use. This is my speech from the other page. This is literally it. Isn't it wonderful? I took keywords and I enlarged them and I made them different colors and I underlined and I've got circles and I've got arrows and all kinds of stuff. And I practiced it like 50 or so times. And so whenever I was in front of this massive audience, holy cow, there was well over 1,000 people there that night. It was ridiculous. It was so much fun. I could talk to them, and all I had to do was glance down and I would see a keyword and look back up and keep talking. Because once I got the keyword, I knew what the rest of the sentence was because I practiced it so many times. And I would talk to them and I'd look down and catch another keyword and then look back up and keep talking. And I would talk to the entire room. It was a big room. This worked for me. This might not work for you. Excuse me. You do what works for you, however it works best for you. Make sure to watch your time. Practice, 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 so that you will know how fast do I need to talk so I can keep it within the 3 to 5 minute time allowance. Or because I'm nervous, do I need to make sure I slow down a little bit so that I don't go over, I don't go under. You don't know that unless you practice. Okay? Practice a lot. Watch your time. Conscript an audience. Find somebody and say, hey, can I practice this in front of you? And that way the person can let you know, that was pretty good, but there's this one part that I don't get what you were trying to say. You want to find that out before you get in front of your audience. Find somebody who loves you. Find somebody who, make sure, well, I was going to say, I could never ask my grandmother to be my audience because she would say, oh, baby, that was beautiful. That was the most beautiful thing. Okay, well, I love my grandmother, but she's not good at giving criticism, constructive criticism. Find somebody who will let you know. That was good, but find somebody who owes you money. Say, look, we'll call it even, or find somebody, duct tape them to a chair if you need to. Find somebody and say, hey, let me practice this in front of you. And whatever feedback they give you, tweak it accordingly. And remember, sometimes some people, it's just their own personal quirks or whatever. They might not like something that you really like. Keep what you really like, but kind of maybe rework it a little bit. Because you don't have to please everybody, right? This needs to be natural. It needs to be organic from within you. Okay, so keep the stuff, but maybe tweak the way you say it. Sometimes we know what we're trying to say, but other people, they're along for the ride. And if they don't understand what you're trying to get at, then that's cool. All you have to do is rework it. So learn lots. Become the expert. It gives you confidence. And the more you know, the more confident you'll be. You will, if you do this correctly, you will learn way more than you use in your speech. But that's cool because that'll help you feel more confident about doing this. Practice, 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 practice. Be prepared, okay? And I say that because so often people have, gotten up to do their speech and they're not prepared. And you can tell they're not prepared. As a matter of fact, one time this girl, she gets up in front of the class and she says, oh, I am so not ready. I am so nervous. Oh, I just finished writing this. Literally, she just finished writing it in her seat. And we're like, oh my gosh, are you serious? So be prepared ahead of time. If the topic is emotional for you, for whatever reason, maybe not this one, but the next couple of speeches, you might feel a little in your throat, a little emotion, push through it. Remember, the whole reason that we are learning public speaking is to communicate with people. And sometimes we use emotion to do that. I mean, emotion comes and that helps us to connect. Sometimes emotion comes when you're not expecting it. I've had that happen, but you push through it. It's weird. It's the weirdest thing, but it helps you to connect with your audience. So if it happens, just push through it, okay? And if you feel nervous, don't announce it. If you don't feel prepared, practice some more. You guys actually get to do this on your own time since this is not in the classroom. You can be prepared before you video yourself doing this speech, okay? I'm gonna back up 1 second before I do this screen and say, you do not have to have PowerPoint to do your speech. I use PowerPoint because whenever I was writing, whenever I had Miss Murphree, I was in her class, I was also taking the PowerPoint course at the same time. And so it's like, it's a new toy. So I used it for everything. That's me. You don't have to do it, okay? Don't feel obligated to use PowerPoint for anything. But if you like it, hey, cool. Just make sure that you have your little screen there so we can actually see you delivering your speech. All right? So the demonstration and the informative speeches, they have some similarities and they have some differences. And you want to make sure to stay within the bounds of those. So they're different in that the demonstration speech is show and tell. You must have the visual aid. And of course, I'm saying that because I would normally do all of this on the same day that I do the demonstration speech in the classroom. But I'm going to show you something. So your demonstration speech has to have show and tell, and it's okay to give your opinion. The informative speech, no opinion, just the facts. No spin. Don't make it sound like you want it to sound. You have to say what actually is. And you have to cite your sources. You have to say your sources, and you have to put your sources in your outline on the works cited page. Now, they are similar in that they're both instructional. I'm going to tell you about in the informative, and in the demonstration, I'm going to show you how. Okay, they're both kind of instructional. You have to do a little bit of research for both, and you have to be ready. You have to be prepared. And they both have to have outlines. If the topic lends itself to being both informative and demonstrative, make sure that you stay within the bounds of how they're different. Okay? Because they're very different kinds of speeches. They have different kinds of information and different ways, different methods of presentation. Having said, I am going to do for you the speech that I did in Miss Murphy's class. And I'm going to shrink this little window just a smidge so that it doesn't get in the way of my PowerPoint presentation. Ready? Everybody ready? Got your popcorn? Okay. Reflexology, an ancient approach to holistic healthcare. Yes, it is the same topic as my demonstration speech. I want you to pay attention to how they're different, how you can use the same topic for both. You don't have to, but you can. Reflexology is a science which deals with the principle that there are reflexes in the feet and hands which correspond to all of the systems and parts of the body. Stimulating these reflexes properly can help many existing health problems in a natural way. Some people use it as a type of preventative maintenance. There's a wall painting in the tomb of Ankh-Mahor in Saqqara, Egypt. It's known as the physician's tomb, and it dates back to 2330 BC. This is a picture of that painting. Notice the people in the center, these are the physicians, and the people on the ends, these are the patients. This one over here, he's got, the physician is working on his hand. He's doing reflexology in the hand. And the other guy is getting reflexology in the feet. And you see the hieroglyphics behind him. This has the patient saying, "Don't hurt me." And the physician saying, "I shall act, so you praise me." He said, "It might hurt now, but you'll feel better later." The history of reflexology dates back thousands of years, and pictorial evidence has been found in different cultures too, from the depictions in the ancient Egyptian tomb to those found in Japan, and from even the Cherokee Indians also. Eunice Ingham is considered the pioneer of modern foot reflexology. She was a physiotherapist in the late 1800s, early 1900s. She worked for Dr. Joe Shelby Riley, and she researched Dr. William H. Fitzgerald's work on zone therapy. She developed the Ingham method of reflexology in the early 1930s. The Academy of Ancient Reflexology says that the Ingham method of reflexology was rejected by modern medical profession, not because it was ineffective, but because it was too time consuming. According to the International Institute of Reflexology, reflexology is a serious advance in the health field. It should not be confused, though, with massage. Reflexology is practiced by trained reflexologists, nurses, and other body workers who have an extended knowledge of anatomy and physiology. Reflexologists are not doctors, though, and they do not diagnose or prescribe. So why get reflexology? Well, physicians agree that over 75% of health problems people experience can be linked to nervous stress and tension. Many of those issues you'll recognize in this list. According to the Reflexology Association of Oregon, reflexology seeks to help the body heal itself by relieving tension in the body, by improving blood supply, promoting the unblocking of nerve impulses, helping with the disposal of waste products of tissue metabolism, particularly that of lactic acid, and helping your body achieve homeostasis. Homeostasis is balance. My favorite explanation is actually from that old TV show, The Big Bang Theory. The character, Dr. Sheldon Cooper, PhD, said the homeostasis is a system's ability to regulate its internal environment and maintain a constant condition of properties, particularly like temperature or pH. So, how is it done? Well, according to Drs. Lassican and Lawrence in the Primary Healthcare Journal, reflexology is a specialized skill of giving deep, controlled compression with the thumb to the reflex points on the feet and hands that correspond with certain parts of the body. But there are some contradictions. If you have neuropathy or arterial disease, you should not get reflexology. However, if you have painful acute conditions affecting the feet or hands, you can get reflexology in the opposite. So if your right hand hurts, you can get reflexology in your right foot instead. So whether you get reflexology in the hospital, the health spa, the hospice, or on holiday, just remember, you are taking part in an ancient holistic tradition that spans the globe and spans generations. Thank you. So how was that? It's really not too hard. Just make sure that you have really good sources and that you keep it concise. Okay? I'm going to do this last little bit about speech delivery. Make sure that the language you use is formal, okay? No slang, no vulgarities, PG rating only. If you must use a substitute word, you can use a substitute word. My favorite substitute that my son used to use is cherry snot. Oh my gosh, that's the funniest thing I ever heard. Now, when it's over, you will have the confidence to know that your audience understands more about this topic and they'll know why it's important to you. Good luck, you guys. I know y'all are going to do great. And I guess that's it. It's been a pleasure speaking with you guys again. And I look forward to the next time I get to talk to y'all. Bye.